really, it's been achieved through inspired leadership and a very simple set of strategic principles that has guided everything that the company has done. And that's despite the continuous political, technological, economic, and societal change that we've experienced. So I hope this story is in some way inspiring and that you'll be able to take something from our philosophy. So I'm going to share some slides. So I hope you'll be able to see these in a sort of full screen view, because there's a couple of videos as well which help illustrate the story. So my first slide is really just about the company. I'm not going to go through it because that's not the main purpose. Safe to say, we're pretty big. Our European headquarters is in Worcester. We manufacture machine tools which make the components for all sorts of sectors: aerospace, automotive, medical, energy, and so on. So that's where the company is today. So I'll go back and begin the story. Back in 1919, the company was founded by Sadakichi Yamazaki. He was a sort of young entrepreneur, and he started the company in Nagoya. And just like other machine tool companies, the first product started by designing the machines to make specific products. And in Mazak's case, it was to weave the straw mats that we know in Japan as tatami mats. And then by 1926, he started manufacturing some wood cutting machinery. But it wasn't until 1928 that the first commercial machine tool was made for sale, of course, only in Japan. And then the war years meant that the company stopped making the machine tools and manufactured other products, including aircraft parts and other needy products. But the key point is in 1946, Sadakichi's eldest son, Teruyuki, who we knew as Terry Yamazaki, joined the company. And that was the trigger for the development of the machine tool company that we know today. And what I'd like to do is to play a video which shows that, sets the atmosphere for those early years and puts it into some kind of context. So I'll start the video. Hopefully you'll get sound, because we had a few technical problems this morning. So let's hope so. Well, I hope that set the atmosphere for those pioneering years. But before moving on to the story, I want to focus on the last years, which were critically important in that period. After the war, they started repairing and selling used machine tools, and the restoration of high quality machines from Europe and the USA helped them, and Terry in particular, develop a deep knowledge and expertise in machine tools. And what was clear, Terry had a deep passion for machine tools. He loved his product, and this was gained by working on the restoration business. And he stated, and was quoted, "Someday I would like to be a world-class machine tool builder." So that was his personal ambition. Now, Japan after the war was a really difficult place to start business. Everything was state controlled. There were real problems getting supplies. And it actually wasn't until 1959 before a new lathe was designed, which allowed Yamazaki to resume production. But, and this is critical, there were key challenges ahead, which would shape the whole culture of the company that Terry created. By 1960, the company had 150 employees in Japan, and it rose to 300. But of course, everything only in Japan, there were no exports. And a decision was taken to expand, and they built a new plant, which is actually where the current headquarters is located. But then came a deep recession, and the company had severe cash flow and debt problems. And it was the urgent need to obtain orders to survive that triggered Terry to go and look to the USA. And he personally traveled out there, and he got a survival order for 200 machines. And he got that order at any cost just to save the company. And part of the contract, he had to make 30 prototypes and get the quality proved first. And that was difficult. It took 6 months with the customer threatening the cancellation before they finally got the approval of the machines. And this really shaped the whole philosophy of the company going forward. So it was that experience that drove the strategy of international expansion and a high quality attention to detail, but above all, an aversion to having any debt so that the company can survive through difficult times. And that philosophy has been key, and that's remained with us ever since. So initial success was followed by a program of international expansion and a decision to start manufacturing machines, in fact, in the United States. And the key strategies that drove that expansion were continuous investment and product innovation, and they were actually underpinned also by Terry Yamazaki's developing management principles. So I'm going to share my screen again and pray the technology continues to work. So yeah, Terry had started to now build this sort of passion for machines. This is Terry as a boy in the early factory. This is Terry in the United States, looking to get those orders. And he had a complete passion. But this was the start of his philosophy. So marketing comes first, even for an industrial product manufacturer. Start with that marketing. Technology is there to realize the market strategy, and production technology is there to reduce the costs. And this is key also. Second-hand information doesn't provide enough insight. So you have to go and talk to your customers and seek out demands that are being ignored. And what I want to do is show another video which explains how that international expansion took place on the background of that strategy of investment and innovation.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
As the video showed, a major and critical part of that strategy was expansion in Europe. And Mazak Europe is today the biggest market for Mazak, accounting for more than 1/3 of sales. And following the success of local production in the USA, Terry had always planned to start manufacturing in Europe and had already acquired land for that purpose in a number of European countries, as well as only in the UK, in Worcester. In 1984, Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher met with Yasuhiro Nakasone, who was the Prime Minister of Japan. And at this time, Mrs. Thatcher's government was encouraging UK investment in high technology manufacturing. And Prime Minister Thatcher invited Yamazaki through the Japanese government to come to the UK and benefit from the incentives available. And happily for us, the decision was taken to locate the manufacturing site in Worcester in preference to the other European locations. So on the 15th of June 1987, 600 guests were invited to celebrate the opening of the new factory here. And the guest of honour was Peter Walker, Mr. Peter Walker, who was a senior minister in Thatcher's government and also a member of Parliament for Worcester. The trade journal, the Society of Manufacturing Engineers, in 1988 described it as follows: walking into the reception area of the Yamazaki Machinery UK plant in Worcester, England, is like entering a modern hotel. The light and airy decor even includes a Japanese garden. Beyond the reception area, a range of Mazak machine tools are on view in a showroom that looks as if it could be used for displaying luxury automobiles. While Japanese inward investment was a massive news story at the time, especially as it was a completely different culture coming to our city. And so I'll just play a little clip of this TV news report. The sound's not very good, but this was from Midlands Today in 1987.
Said to be the most advanced in Europe. Our Midlands correspondent John McLeod reports.
Only 150 work at Yamazaki. It's a highly automated factory capable of running 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, producing computer-controlled machining centres and lathes. Automatic guided vehicles zoom round the factory to pop songs. More human, says the company, than warning beepers. The company's president, speaking through an interpreter, explained why the Japanese had come to Worcester as their base for Europe.
I wanted to build a facility as close to the customers, and it is good for customer as well as for us. So we are very happy by having a lot of people who are very skilled, talented. Maybe because Worcester has been one of the birthplace of machine tool industries.
Mr. Yamazaki worked at his father's farm machinery factory as a boy. He turned the Backstreet Company into the world's biggest machine tool manufacturer. At the same time, the British machine tool industry, effectively Alfred Herbert in Coventry, went into serious decline. Alfred Herbert went bust, so it's little wonder that some British manufacturers are worried of having the Japanese on their doorstep. The company says they have nothing to fear.
I feel that from the fact that we will probably sell our products made in here, only 10 to maximum probably 20% from the total output in domestic market, meaning in England, and the rest 80% or more than 80% would be exported to continental Europe, or could be to Japan, could be to United States, or to the rest of the world anyway. So in that respect, we would like to prosper together with British machine tool builders.
Apologies, the sound is not so good on that clip, but it does set the atmosphere of what was going on at that time and the fear of Japanese coming into the UK and could it damage industry and so on. So I thought it was useful to show you that. Before closing that part of the story, I want to talk about specific reference to the UK and some of the investment that has been made. We also have design of machine tools in the UK as well, and we design those specifically for the UK market. So there's been huge investment. 2 new products here. One in the last financial recession was our bestseller, and in the current difficult situation, we have a new product that's launched last year, which is doing really well in the market. And it leads me on to this graph, which I think is important for this kind of forum. This is a profile of all the products that we've made in the UK over that period of time with their sales volume. You can see that massive recession we had in 2009. which the company philosophy helped us survive by not having debt. But the key point is that 60% of orders actually come from products developed in the last 3 years. And so we keep reinventing these products and relaunching them. And we think that is an important part of that overall philosophy. So by the time we entered the 21st century, the guiding principles of the company had been set and to create a remarkable success story. And that is continuous investment in people, with local management being part of that to understand the culture, continuous investment in manufacturing technology for productivity, and manufacturing some of the key elements of the products in-house so the quality is really controlled, innovation in machine tool technology and design and product development, and doing that by being close to the customer, not relying on that second-hand information, expanding the territories to grow the business, and then also remaining strong or debt-free with financial management to deal with any downturns. So what I want to do is show one more video which basically sets out how those principles have underpinned how the company has developed since 2001 and what we may expect for the future. See, the video shows all manufacturers now have incredible opportunities provided by the new digital technology revolution, Industry 4.0. I think that comes across clearly, but that's the subject of another presentation. I think the key thing is that through all of this period, there's been massive technological change, which has created opportunities. And I'd like to turn back to Terry's vision and philosophy, which I believe is still as relevant now as when Terry developed them those years ago, and they've been with us ever since. And this is a repeat of the slide I showed earlier, so I won't go through it in detail, but the key points for me are that secondhand information doesn't provide enough insight. Go out and see what's going on, seek out demands that are being ignored. And then in 2008, Terry produced a book called Mazak's Management Principles, 88 years of manufacturing excellence when he put that out. And there's some comments made in that book, which I'd like to repeat here, which are part of our philosophy. And I think they're important for all the budding companies in the region. You know, history is made by having the vision to take that first step and the passion to follow your dream. But this is the most important bit for me. Anyone can dream a dream, but the important thing is to make a plan to realize your dream. And the other thing is, when people look at Mazak, they say we may appear bold to outsiders. However, actually, we do nothing more than predict future trends while consistently keeping solid management in mind. And our passion for manufacturing will be passed on to each generation, our people, our business partners, our customers. And finally, which has been really pertinent during the recent issues we've faced with COVID and so on, ups and downs are inherent in business. But it is in the tough times when true management ability is tested. So I hope that's been an interesting run through of 100 years of history and a kind of constant theme of which I think anybody can use in how they take their business forward. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Marcus, thank you. Thank you so much. I think I can probably speak on behalf of everybody. What an absolutely amazing presentation, and a hard task to take us through 100 years in what, 25 minutes. I was going to give you full points then by finishing on time, but you're 3 minutes over, so I might have to deduct a point.
Oh, apologies for that.
No, it's fine. Absolutely amazing. I think you took us through every single aspect of business that we probably all talk about all the time, from that debt at the start, getting the orders, marketing, through to some of the growth challenges, investment, innovation, and international trading, which is a lovely segue into David. He's going to speak next. But before we do, I'm sure there might be some questions from everyone. I actually had two, and you've answered both of them in the presentation. So mine were why Worcester and what next?
All right.
Because we're, well, just on one screen, I can see everyone. If you've got a question, do you want to come off mute and ask Marcus directly? Stunned them all into silence.
I've got one, Marcus. With the budget changes and the super duper tax deduction from machinery or any new equipment, do you see that as a big boost for Mazak?
Yeah, well, I think it's important for the whole capital goods industry. It's something that's been happening in other countries, particularly after the last recession. Italy have been doing this. I've been lobbying for these policies for the last 10 years in all the trade associations that I deal with, and I think it's great that that's got some traction now. So I think that will help companies make that decision to invest. And in manufacturing, continuous investment is the key.
Thank you, Marcus. Time for one more. Anyone got one more?
Hi, Marcus. That was really interesting. You know, I've been in manufacturing and even used some of your tools in previous companies, but it's all around removal of material. What's the sort of future in terms of additive materials? It's always been talked about. It's always been sort of looked at, but is it really turning into a mass market capability? Because high volume is very different to small one-off prototypes.
It's not mass market at the moment. It depends on specific applications. There will be niche areas where additive will absolutely be the best. And also in design, when you're trying to, you know, weight reduce and redesign products to use the additive process, that will show a big change. But also metal cutting and additive can go together. Hidden in that video somewhere, I think, was one of those multitasking machines which actually does additive and subtractive manufacturing. So I think we've got 3 additive manufacturing solutions on display at Mazak as well. So we're embracing all the technologies, but it's small niche at the moment, but we'll grow.
Right, thank you.
Thank you again, Marcus, for your presentation, your time this morning. Many thanks to you.
No problem. If anyone's interested, they can always contact me if they want to know a little bit more about the philosophy and the history and some of the management styles. And if you're interested in Industry 4.0 and what to invest in, then give Alan Mucklow a buzz and I'm sure he'll be delighted to talk to you. Thanks very much.
We'll let Alan know. He might be expecting some calls. Thank you very much. So, yeah, can I hand over to you, David? David Shepherd from the Department of International Trade. I think you've got a presentation as well, David. So over to you.
Thank you, Sharon. I'm just going to try to bring it up. Right. Can everybody see that? Somebody say yes.
Yep.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Good morning. My name is David Shepherd. As Sharon said, I'm the automotive and future mobility sector advisor with DIT for the Midlands, with a focus on export. I'd just though like to start by thanking Sharon for the invitation to speak this morning, and also to Hayley for the hand-holding on the technology. I'd also like to thank Marcus for such a fascinating presentation and for giving me such a hard act to follow. But it was great to see video clips of days gone by when you could still get a haircut. What's prompted this morning really for me in terms of my content was firstly, my brief was, okay, so you do automotive, but this is for a wider manufacturing forum, so don't make it all automotive. The other thing, which was kind of distressing almost in a way, was that there was a manufacturing company survey recently published, and it was from a credible source. But one of the results of the survey was that a large proportion of people surveyed, and I guess some of you in the audience this morning might be included in that, felt that government support for exporters was inadequate. And I wondered if there was an element in there, and perhaps it sort of might sound arrogant to say that, but I wondered if there was an element in there of people not knowing what they don't know, because I think there's a pretty good raft of support there, although navigating the minefield of business support has always been complex. I remember SMMT at one automotive event talking about there are 200 separate business support programs for the automotive supply base, and how do you deal with that? So I wanted to start with just a kind of a headline view of what DIT is about in terms of support for exporters, and you can all read that slide. But the key element for me is the second bullet, the International Trade Advisor, who's absolutely pivotal in the support that we offer. The International Trade Advisor is there as a trusted advisor, and also is a route to the support options that are available. And I can't sort of stress enough really the importance of kind of making the most of your ITA. But in terms of what I'm looking at, really, it really is quite simple. And what I'm trying to do is to look at what we have in the Midlands in terms of automotive supply base, to match that against opportunities and services which are directly targeted. And the way that I've approached this really is a four-stage process, starting with looking at demand, what opportunities there are in which markets, and basically to quote Terry, to seek out demands that are being ignored. And in parallel with that, I've looked at supply in the Midlands in terms of supply chain capability and capacity. And where we are now is at the matching process, where we're looking to start bringing buyers and sellers together. So it's a very sort of tactical approach. It's very much based on as I say, putting together people who can sell with people who can buy, and the bottom line is as well, people will only buy from you what you're good at. And we're going through a sort of a communication program at the moment, and the next steps on from that will be to get to the next layer of the onion, to match people on a one-to-one basis through trade missions or through trade associations with people in different territories. What I'm in the middle of running at the moment, I've got one this afternoon, which I'm unashamedly happy to plug, is a series of 4 webinars which are doing just that. Big focus on electrification, obviously, with electric vehicle powertrain and electric vehicle on the vehicle side. So I've segmented that, but we're running one on automotive components this afternoon, and the manufacturing value chain one next Tuesday, although I just learned now that that's competing with one of the chamber events, so that may be of limited interest. But the markets that we're focusing on, going back to the where I see the low-hanging fruit, and with Terry's quote, are Mexico, India, Central and Eastern Europe, and Turkey, because that's where I think our companies in the Midlands, what we're good at, have competitive advantage. So that was my quick automotive view, and I think, you know, one of the things from that is that although it's very, very much automotive sector focused, that there is the potential to leverage that approach to think about how that might apply to different products, different sectors, different territories, but it is very much about sort of targeting. What I want to go on to now is the more general kind of support that we offer. And again, what I've done in most of the slides here, and I don't know whether the slides will be available to you afterwards, I hope so, but is to put a link at the bottom of each slide as to where you can find more information. But I think this is where our strengths are, particularly in finding markets and market opportunities. And I think one thing it's easy to underestimate or not be aware of is the phenomenal sort of breadth and depth of knowledge that's there. I had a call on Monday morning from somebody asking if I'd got any contacts in a company in Vietnam that I'd never heard of. So the quick answer to that was no. But I sent a note to the British Embassy in Hanoi and got a reply back overnight, because I sent it at the end of the day. And they'd come back with the program director, the engineering director, and the technical director, contact details for this company, which I thought was absolutely brilliant. And obviously, you know, that's the sort of thing that you could spend ages trying to find yourselves, and you'd never get from Google. But so there is a sort of a real breadth and depth of knowledge, and if we don't know, then we might know somebody who does. But there are also specific services. Excuse me. The first one I wanted to touch on was the digital service, the e-commerce thing, which is becoming, obviously, in the current climate, more and more important as we have to work remotely. One of the things that we offer as a service is a review of websites. It's a free thing. Quite often what I see when I look at companies' websites is not much more than an equipment listing, which is not really making the most of the website as a selling tool. And equally, you know, when it comes to internationalization, then it's probably even less helpful. But it is a free review. The people that are doing it are absolutely stacked out with demand. There's an event on the 17th of March next week, with a link for registration at the bottom if people are interested. But certainly that's that's something that's really highly in demand at the moment. Another fairly recent new service introduced, I think in the last 6 months really, is the Export Academy, which has been designed to help small companies in any sector new to exporting. You can see the details here. There's a link at the bottom for getting more information, but it's aimed, as I say, it's aimed at the smaller company. And again, the route to that would be through your ITA or the Specialist Export Academy advisor. Another thing that's very popular at the moment, probably not surprisingly, is customs and logistics support. We got a dedicated specialist in the West Midlands, Beverly Price, who is really earning her money at the moment, and runs a series of webinars, always there for one-to-one support. And again, contact your ITA or contact me, and I'll connect you if you want for help in any matters relating to customs and logistics. In terms of funding to help exporting, there's the internationalization fund for small businesses. It's match funding up to £9,000. So in other words, it will pay 50% of up to an £18,000 project. And the scope of it is quite broad, which is I think a really good thing, because quite often these things are quite narrow. It's not related to job creation or anything like that, which some of these funding programs can be, and it's really designed to help the export effort, whether it's through participation in an exhibition or market research or getting appointments with people or whatever. It's really quite flexible, but again, the route to that is through your ITA, but more details are on the Chamber website if you follow the link at the bottom there. Next thing on my list is around soft skills, because we can quite often ignore those and ignore the importance of them and the impact of culture and communication. Excuse me again. We've got a great service there. It's run by somebody called Gertie Willis, and she runs webinars from time to time, but is also available for sort of one-to-one consultation. But I'd watched the webinar, and frankly, I thought, well, you can get more insight into how to work with people from other culture in an hour than you could possibly do spending a lifetime traveling. And it's absolutely brilliant. I can recommend that. And the second one on the slide is the complex market service. I put it there because more and more we're seeing interest, I suppose, or priority importance of other routes to market apart from direct exporting. So in terms of things like joint venture, working collaboratively, whether that's formally or informally, and so on. And I think this is really a very valuable service. I mean, the key thing about this really is helping you achieve the right deal that works for you. And I think it is a very valuable service, but again, access to that is through your ITA. I'd have to mention, obviously, Export Finance, which is there as a huge tool, been running for years, providing support with financing, with export guarantees and insurance. And again, there's a link on the bottom of the slide for more information. Looking at support available for manufacturers outside DIT, I always mention the Manufacturing Growth Programme in anything. I think this is great personally. It's been running since 2012, so it's well established. There's a lot of manufacturing advisory service DNA in it, and I got a lot of time for the people running it and delivering it. And I guess you know quite a few of them yourselves, and could well have benefited from the programme. But I do think that's worth looking at if anybody hasn't. This is one thing back on automotive support, and one of the things that the supply chain has been told for years is that you've got to adapt to new technologies, which in other words is electric vehicles, but without necessarily being told how to do it. And SMMT Industry Forum is running a program of courses at the moment, half-day and full-day courses, which may be too basic for some people, but in what they're doing is they're sort of giving an overview of what technologies are actually employed in electrification, in electric vehicles, to give a bit clearer idea of how existing technologies can be adapted. Personally, I think this is a great program. There's details there in the link, and what's even better is that they're not expensive. I think it's something like £150 for a half-day course, which really I think is a bargain. Another thing on automotive support is the Automotive Transformation Fund, which is run by the Advanced Propulsion Centre, as well as their competitions, which have been going since 2013 and have funded all sorts of innovations. But this is great, I think, because what I think we're very good at, and what the R&D ecosystem in automotive is incredibly strong at, is helping people to move up the MRL, TRL scale, but not really to reach the top of the MRL scale. And this is very much designed to support commercializing technology into volume manufacture. And I think this is something that the industry has been crying out for a long time, really. So to me, that's a very welcome development. I should also mention this is the SMMT's annual Meet the Buyer event as a support for route to market. One of the things in automotive is that it's, and I guess it's the same in every other sector really, is that it's incredibly difficult to win conquest business, to reach the relevant buyer within an organization. The gatekeeping process is incredibly well refined, and this is one of the events which helps break that. I think there are 5 buyers confirmed at the moment, and that will increase from both OEMs and tier 1 suppliers. The expressions of interest are open now and will be till the 19th of April, and the link to the Meet the Buyer program is on the bottom of the slide. But again, it's a great opportunity to reach buyers, which is something that's very difficult. That essentially covers the support side that I wanted to mention. I think there are a couple of things, and Marcus touched on one of them earlier on that we can all spend some more time at. And the first one is digitization. What I'm seeing very much now is that the digitization is quite prominent in the purchase decision. You know, in my world, you used to just talk about quality, cost, and delivery. Then it moved on to a fourth KPI of technology. But digitization now and supply chain integration are becoming really some big factors in the purchase decision. And as Marcus said, it's about having better and quicker data, which doesn't necessarily mean massive investment in capital equipment. A company I talked to in Birmingham, for example, is retrofitting sensors to presses that can be older than the operators. But it is about getting that data and getting it more quickly, and then the key thing around that is making decisions based on it. I remember sort of back in the day, I used to get quality data that told me the only process that wasn't capable was final inspection. So clearly, we weren't making the most of the data that we were getting. And the other big driver really is sustainability, the green agenda, if you like. and again, that's becoming increasingly important in the purchase decision as I'm seeing it. I think, you know, one of the things that's come out of the last year is the appreciation of improving air quality, for example, the appreciation of environmental issues generally, but that I think is only going to increase, and there's things that can be done there, perhaps by considering something like, if you haven't got it, ISO 14001 or whatever, or having a sustainable strategy as part of your quality system. So I think there are things that we can be getting on with as we move towards sort of pre-COVID business levels, and there's a chance to do things, maybe look at like staff training. I mean, one of the things that's always struck me is that generally you can find sort of affordable or even free training for staff in things like level 2 business improvement techniques, which personally I think is a great qualification and something you can all benefit from. So that was a quick canter through support that's available. I'm happy now to take any questions, but if anything comes to mind later on, please feel free to email me or give me a call, and these are my contact details. So again, I'd like to finish by thanking you all for your attention, and thanks to Sharon for the invitation, and hopefully be able to catch up in a non-virtual world before too long.
David, thank you. It's really helpful, and I echo your sentiments about using the ITAs who are located at the chamber, just in the offices at Seven House. So if anyone's not making use of those, then please do get in touch with them, and I know they can take you through all of the programmes that David's mentioned as well, because there's a lot there, isn't there, David? A lot of support available. I'm really conscious of time, so any quick questions for David? But obviously, if not, you've got his number anyway to make contact. Anybody?
So I've either done a good job or bored and stupid.
No, I think it's a time thing. I'm sure everyone's got their 11 o'clock. So I just want to say thank you very much again to David and to Marcus for your really informative presentations. We will share the slides, if it's okay to share yours as well, Marcus, with everyone. And you can get in touch with, well, Alan, obviously, or David later in the week or whatever suits you. Thank you very much for coming, everyone, and have a great rest of the week. Bye all.
Thanks everyone, take care.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thanks a lot.
Bye. Bye, Marcus. Thank you.